Alright, we're on the air.
Lovely.
We did it.
We're successful!
Alright, that's a wrap. Hi there, Hi there, welcome to the Podcast Cast. I'm Insuling.
I'm Mark.
And I am Jarrett. And today we are going to be talking about something a little bit more pulled back. We've been doing specific stuff. Exalted. Godbound. Now we're going to bring things a bit back to a more general topic. The topic of unkillable NPCs.
Boo.
What we think about them, how they work, and how to do them right, and how to do them wrong.
Ooh.
And now I'm being booed.
Never use them.
Yeah, so I guess Insuling, you can kind of do the lead-in on this one.
Alright, well, we were joking a little bit there, but not by much. I've had a lot of experiences with people adding invincible characters into games where the tension just drops because you know that there's only two options. Either the invincible thing is going to kill the entire party because there's absolutely nothing that can happen, or we're going to figure out some way to escape, or some other person's going to show up that should probably be doing the heroing anyways. And then the question is, why are we here? Why are we doing this? What's the point? I could be home with my wife right now. I clearly do not need to be here in this character dealing with your nonsense.
Yeah, and invincible characters don't just exist within the spectrum of RPGs. Pop fiction is absolutely full of invincible characters, some of which are better than others. For examples, Supernatural has Lucifer, who is cosmically more powerful than Sam and Dean, to the point that Sam and Dean have no real chance of killing him directly. The Unconquered Sun from Exalted. God, what's his name? He's a wizard. He's an asshole.
Superman.
Super powerful. Elemenster. That little tart. He is designed to be an unbeatable NPC. There's also NPCs that are specifically given unbeatable stats, like Kane in in Vampire.
They're given a stat line that just says they just win.
Yeah.
There's the dragon in Dark Sun that I guess has a bunch of nonsense about how that the dragon has hidden magical wands all over the place and it can teleport. It's just given this long list of reasons why you can't kill it. And I think in our last podcast, you guys were talking about how I think you killed the dragon just by saying like, no dog, you don't do any of that.
Yeah, see, the dragon in Dark Sun is designed to be a plot device. And if you do go to fight it, after going through fire, tornadoes, starvation, magic, and an entire cult city dedicated to stopping players from getting to it, and then if they do manage to get to where it lives, it has a psychic bell thing that automatically tells it that they're entering. So even if they're using stealth, it will tell, unless they have wizards that are shutting it down. And basically, it'll fly there and start killing them. And if it starts to lose, what it'll do is it'll go around all over the battlefield. Buried just underneath the surface are potions of healing that will let it instantly heal back up to full health. And then it will use a wand. Like, it'll actually pick up a little wand and cast invisibility and then just stalk them around throwing fireballs at them. And it even has a section in the book that states that if the players by some creative means manage to defeat it, that the DM is totally free to just make something up on the spot to make it so that the players can't beat it.
Woo! Sure glad we're playing this game.
By the way, just so you guys know, the purpose of that module was to kill the Ur-Dragon. Like, that was the reason you were going there. Like, the whole adventure was killing him, and you can't kill him. And it encourages the DM to, A, not allow the dragon to be killed under any means, and B, to not tell the players that it's impossible. And to encourage them to make new characters, play the game all the way to level 30 plus, and then go on the suicide run again.
This is another character, I think named Samuel Height, from a White Wolf game where... Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry, my wife was signing something to me. Where you meet this guy who has a staff that's part of the world tree. He's skinned a werewolf, and so he wears that pelt to get werewolf gifts. He's, I think, like an awakened mage or something. And he's also a ghoul, so he has vampire disciplines. And the staff that he has absorbs all of his paradox that he's using for all of his mage shenanigans. And so he just does whatever he wants. He just gets to be this awesome superhero who runs around roughshod all over the players. And in the end, if you play through the whole module without just giving up and, spending time with your family, which you should always do instead of playing that game, or at least that module, he doesn't kill you and you don't even get to kill him. His staff just explodes and everybody dies. Good job. You did it. It's bittersweet, right? It's so fun. This is going to be an explicit podcast by the time we're done with this.
Suicide bombing for the win?
Yeah, it's great.
I mean...
We at the Podcast do not endorse suicidal comics.
No, we're not sponsored by nobody.
Well, I mean... I actually can't disagree with that.
I know it hurts to say it. I love their podcasts, but oh boy.
Sponsored by nobody for the newcomers among us, and we'll get back on topic, but we're wandering off topic as we always do. Sponsored by Nobody has an interesting interpretation of heroes for their characters. They either play these really pure moral paragons, or they play black void monsters who are entirely selfish, entirely self-centered, and 100% dedicated to avoiding all of the consequences of their actions forever. Like, just take Princes of the Universe, genocide, racial cleansing, I believe... what was the other things they did?
Cannibalism.
Human
sacrifices. Selling whole quarters of the world without a thought.
They went to go assassinate the Bull of the North.
Spoilers.
I mean, they were talking about it from the first episode. Yeah, we'll try and keep the spoilers as limited as physically possible.
So, invincible characters. You know what Sponsored by Nobody didn't have? Invincible characters.
Yeah, literally everyone could be killed, I think. And anyone that couldn't be killed, they just didn't have show up in the podcast.
Yeah.
Why it's a great podcast.
Yeah.
So, man, invincible characters. So like, I had a guy who would run games for a group, and I guess you could say that he was the group's storyteller, but it was more a case of the fact that he would refuse to play. He would only run games. And so it was either he runs the game or we're down a person. And so that kind of sucked. And he had these he had these weird fixations that he would get. And one of them is he would always have an invincible dude. And it wasn't always really like a bad guy. Like one time we ran into him and it was just a guy who just couldn't die. It was a Warhammer Fantasy game, and he's just this guy who's just covered in the green wind of magic, and he just won't die. And it was this whole thing. He's like, oh yeah, but like these characters would just have this nonchalant attitude with everything. And if we disagreed with something that character would say, then that character would just say, well, you can't kill me, so what are you going to do about it? So I just started saying, well, you can't die, but like you also can't break chains, so we'll just throw you to the bottom of a river and forget about you. Like that would solve that, right, guys? Right? Nobody else wanted to go down that moral event horizon with me. Then we run in... Huh?
That is an absolutely genius solution to a problem. See, this is the thing. I believe in a very simple motto. Make the problem, sell the solution. If you run into a guy that's immortal, make money off of that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? What does that mean? Unlimited meat, first of all.
Oh,
Okay?
goodness.
What's he gonna do? Die? So you can feed an entire country if he has quick regeneration.
I'd
Tourette's?
say,
We did that to the Tourette's in a game. We basically got like 100 kobolds, and again, this whole game was us being sarcastic, so it was more of a meme game than an actual campaign. We got 100 kobolds, played each one out individually, and did combat with the Tourette's, and the kobolds beat it. Then we cut it up into pieces, figured out which piece was the one that was regenerating back into the Tourette's, put it in a sealed bottle that stopped time, things that were in the bottle, and it would uncork the bottle to cut off the meat and sell it to people.
yeah, that seems about right.
We fed an entire quarter of creation doing that, and I don't mean exalted creation, I mean like the setting.
Yeah, yeah, I guess a Tauros would kind of fit into this. Like, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, but it's like doable. But it's one of those stat blocks that's kind of built for you to not really be able to do it until you get all the resources. But then you run into those monsters or characters where it's less clear. There is no stat block. Figuring out how to deal with them is part of the story. But the problem is that NPC is following you around and like doing things. Like in Silent Hill, people love Pyramid Head. And Pyramid Head is an invincible character who follows you around. He's got a giant sword and will absolutely destroy you unless you either like shoot it a bunch of times or just manage to survive or escape. And there's stakes there though, because you kind of know what the stakes are. I just have to keep surviving. I just have to keep going. And that's cool. Like that is an invincible character done right. An invincible character done wrong is one that just shows up and bullies the players over and over again, like Lucifer and Supernatural. He just keeps showing up and going, "Oh, you found something that could stop me? Well, I'm just going to take that. You know, I'm just following you in my car, right? Like, I'm just right behind you all the time. I don't have to sleep or breathe or eat. I'm just perfect. You know, I'm Lucifer." Why is this here? Why are you here? This is miserable. This is not a good game.
Yeah, and and it really is like there are a lot of examples of invincible characters done horribly, and we'll get to those. But first I want to talk about a few of the invincible characters that were done well, I'd say. For one, I think the Tourette's is a pretty good example because he's an invincible character, like, in design, but he still has very clear ways that he can be killed, and it's just a setup to kill him. Another example would be the Unconquered Sun from the Exalted setting. While I think that he isn't exactly the best character, like the best written character I've ever seen or anything, he does a very decent job of being this cool setting element that's this cool badass guy that also isn't interfering with the player's adventures and isn't running around like doing things. Because when the guy who's perfect and infinitely powerful and unlimited strength, intelligence, the god of perfection, when he's running around fixing things, there's no reason for you to be there. Just go home and watch the sun fix the world. But he's not here. He's up there. He's being the sun. Mm-hmm. He's the reason plants grow. We need him up there doing sun things away from here. And so there's no sun here. He's not wandering around the earth helping people. You have to go do that. Because if you don't do that, no one will. Mm-hmm. If you aren't there being the hero, there just won't be a hero.
And it makes the players feel like they're special. It makes the players feel like they're needed. If Big Daddy was playing with creation, like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm in the south here," then the players would be like, "You go, man. Let's go on to like
let's go to the north."
Yeah, or let's just go sleep at the local inn or something. And that's why you want to make them so like, okay, he's needed up there while we gotta go here. We have to help here.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like there's the question of like, well, why doesn't the sun come down and solve all the problems? Because it's the sun. What? You don't want the sun solving your problems. It's the sun. What is the sun going to do? It's going to turn its baleful gaze upon you and scorch the landscape because it's the sun. Well, well, I want to be able to kill the unconquered sun. Okay, just rewind. It's the sun. You are attacking the sun. What do you want? What?
Yeah, why do you like? The thing is, there are certain situations where you might end up having to face the sun. Like, for example, if the whole campaign was centered around, I don't know, conquering Yushan or something insanely high concept like that. But at the same time, under almost every situation a player is going to find themselves in, there is no reason they want the sun gone. Because you know what happens when the sun dies? The world breaks because the god that's like dealing with things being perfect is gone. So the unattainable perfection that everyone strives for, that, you know, like the reason why people better themselves no longer exists. So the world becomes a stagnant hellhole.
There's also
And then there's no light, so all of the plants die. And because there's no plants, all the animals die. And then everyone dies. Like,
good job. You broke the setting. Now we can play a different game.
yeah.
Good job, players. You did it.
And it's like, you know, if that's what the players want and like it fits with the narrative and stuff, sure. But there's really no reason why you'd want to kill the sun. Unless you're like doing a very weird high concept campaign.
I'm really glad we brought this up because they actually gave the Unconquered Sun stats in a book for 2nd edition Exalted. And again, don't buy any of their products. None of the writers are getting any of that money. They probably never will. Onyx Splash Publishing is garbage. At me. But yeah, they gave him stats, and like one of his powers is like, oh, the Unconquered Sun can just assume to get like 25 successes on top of whatever they roll, you know. So it's basically impossible, but like, you know, if you do beat the Unconquered Sun, then I don't know, the world might end. It's also like it's also like a law not to defeat the sun. It just don't do it. Don't beat our perfect little non-player character. Don't mess with our setting too much. Go play with your trains in the corner and leave our NPCs alone.
And the best part is, they took that and turned around and immediately made a plot line where the Unconquered Sun gets killed.
Yep.
Like, literally, they wouldn't get, don't kill the Unconquered Sun. It'll break the setting. Don't bother doing it. It's not fun. It sucks. Please, God, please, players, don't do this. And then they took a deep breath and then sold them a module where the Unconquered Sun gets killed.
In a cutscene.
In a cutscene. The players don't even get to murder him. Like, they don't even get the satisfaction of saying, I murdered the sun. No. NPCs murder the sun.
NPCs are
like
also
Abyssals?
invincible.
Like, wasn't it Abyssals?
No,
Stand back, NPCs, and watch my NPCs be cool.
yeah, it was those dumpster fire infernals.
Oh god, it was Infernals.
Yeah.
What are the Infernals doing killing the sun? Wait, back up. What? What?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Okay.
What?
Next week we'll do a podcast on that, or sometime.
Okay, we'll have to keep going.
All right, listeners, go to our Patreon, give us a little bit of money. If we're making like $5 a month, we'll do that episode. We'll go there. We'll drop names. I know the art director. I mean, not personally. I don't even know his face, but I have his name, and I'll drop it. I will drop it like poker chips on a table.
So I guess now that we've talked a little bit about how to do good invincible characters, like characters that are fun and fit with the setting, and characters that are far enough away that they aren't breaking everything in half.
Well, wait, did we? All right.
Oh god, I don't think we did. Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard. All right. Superman is a good example. I like Superman. I think a lot of people do like Superman. We all know he's kind of a boring character. We all know that, you know, any Superman versus question is, you know, of course Superman would win, but is that good for the narrative. But I like Superman because Superman is a guy who tries. He tries to be a really good person, tries to do the best that he can, and he's, as he said in Justice League, he's in a world of cardboard. But he tries. And I think that's cool. I love the idea of a character who is invincible, but they can only really be in one place at a time, and they just try their hardest to just put that to use for everybody's sake. So, I like Superman. Superman, like, the stories are kind of boring, but if the character shows up in a game, I wouldn't be too upset. I'd be like, oh, hey, cool, it's Superman. What's up, buddy? How can we help you? Because, like, if the invincible character is asking you for help, then that actually does kind of raise the stakes, because it means that there's something that they can't do, and they need you to help them do it.
Yeah, it's the classic thing of, like, especially in D&D, you have and this is in more traditional D&D.
I think you just cut out. We're recording again. Alright. We're on to 21 minutes.
Okay, so in traditional fantasy, there are actually quite a few invincible characters that I think are done pretty well. The first of which is the gods. Especially in a lot of fantasy where you're playing mortals, the gods can't really be defeated in straight combat most of the time. But that's okay because the gods are kind of really restricted in a lot of these settings. Like, they can't just wander down into Earth and start murdering people. So they have to pick someone out and ask them for help and choose a champion. Like, the god of war can't just go down and murder the guy he doesn't like. He has to ask you for help. Mm-hmm. And it can set a lot of stakes, because when a god starts begging you for help, even if, like, hypothetically, if the god could come here, they could probably do it themselves. The fact that they're coming to you and beseeching you for aid makes you cooler because a god had to ask you for help.
Oh yeah, that's...
Divine quests are super cool, and they're a super cool plotline, because it means also you can, like, completely thwart the plans of entities way above your pay grade. Because it doesn't matter if the god of evil people is super powerful and omnipotent. If he's stuck in another dimension and can't leave, and he's trying to do something in this dimension through agents, and you stop it, you've just stopped a god. It doesn't matter if you didn't physically beat him to death. You still stopped him. He lost, and you won. And that's cool. Mm-hmm. It's even more cool because you couldn't just murder him.
Yeah, the gods get stats in the 3rd edition D&D. They release deities and demigods, which is actually on my shelf. And it gives the god stats. And what they do is they say all the gods are like 20 hit die outsiders that are also level 40 characters. And they're very boring stat-wise, because it's just, it's level 20 fighter and level 20 cleric. Or it's level 20 barbarian and level 20 fighter. So there's no prestige classes for the gods, because I guess the gods can't, like, why would Grumsh be an Eye of Grumsh, even though that would be totally rad. But it gives you rules for it, though. Like, so, like, if you want to make your own god, you can. But it also gives them divine powers, and some of them are actually pretty cool. I like them. But it's like pre-godbound stuff, and like there's some interesting stuff to look at there. But then some of the gods that are more powerful get things like all of their D20 rolls are to attack are just assumed to be natural 20, so they always hit and they'll always critically hit. So if they're using a scythe, it's times 4 damage every attack. Here we go. And it sounds kind of boring, but really, if you're players and you're like, I want to fight that god, well, okay, I don't know why you would be complaining about this. Yes, it's going to be wiping the floor with you. It's a god.
At the same time, a lot of times, especially if you're fighting something this powerful, just surviving the fight with it can, like, especially if you play up how overwhelmingly powerful this thing is. Like, your party's level 20, they did a bunch of cool stuff, and suddenly they decide they're going to pick a fist fight with a god. and you describe the god punching them through houses, and because they're just powerful enough to fight for a little bit, they still manage to put up a decent fight against a living god of war, even though they're mortals. Like, the rest of the setting is going to notice that you just punched the god of war in the mouth and survived. Even if you didn't kill him, even if you lost, you're one of the biggest badasses to ever live, just by doing it. Like, you just made a fool of the gods. It doesn't matter if they lost. The fact that you managed to land a hit on them makes you a badass.
Yeah, there was a video on Newgrounds years and years and years ago about a guy who was just telling the story, and he just animated it with Flash. But he's like, yeah, I was at a bar, and I thought I was feeling pretty big on myself, and there was a guy there who was saying that his friend was like the world fighting champion, and you know, I had heard about the world fighting champion. I thought it was this big guy named Butterbean, and this guy wasn't Butterbean, so I said, yeah, I'll go fight your friend, and the guy knocked me out in one hit. But can you say that you fought the world fighting champion? It was exactly that. It was actually a pretty cool story, because like, I've never fought the world fighting champion.
Exactly. You can do these narratives without breaking player agency, because just because a god's unbeatable doesn't mean a god's unbeatable. Mm-hmm. Because beating a god and beating an NPC is about more than just murder. You can beat someone philosophically. You can outsmart them. You can create a clever plan that ruins their plans. Even if they have the raw power of a god, or are a god, you can still be that clever mortal that outwits them. I mean, it's like in Greek myth. There were mortals that outdid gods at their focus. Like, there was a god who was like, I forgot her name, but she was the god of weaving. And I think it was Athena, probably. And basically, there was a human weaver who could literally do it better than she could. And it pissed her off to no end. And so she got mad at her and turned her into a spider. It was this whole thing. And the thing is, you can make a god angry. You can make them lose, even if you didn't murder them. And sometimes making a god lose without murdering them is more satisfying than just killing them, because now they have to live the rest of their lives knowing a mortal beat them. It doesn't matter if it's in combat, but a mortal got the upper hand on them.
A really good friend of mine has a goal in Call of Cthulhu to pick up Bast and just like shuffle her fur like against the grain, and he wants to pants Snarlathotep.
Of course.
Those are his two goals, and I think he's gotten to do at least one of those. I think he's picked up Bast and like done the shuffle. And she was just like, "What are you doing?" Didn't immediately kill us Didn't immediately kill him for his for his insolence, because you know we were helping her out, and it was just a real awkward thing. And then he just put Bast down. He's like, "Yeah, that was pretty weird. All right." Out of character, though, he was like, "Yes, I did it! I did it!"
I mean, I have to admit, for a literal god who's used to people breaking in half psychically when people look at them, having some guy start petting you must be really weird. Like, it's probably less anger and more just complete shock that there's someone with the balls to even try that.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. Like, games like that have... They're good for like RPG bucket lists. Just stuff where you want your character to accomplish some just bananas thing that would basically give you an achievement in a video game. Like, it's probably good for at least a bronze trophy. I'll go for it. Let's go towards Azathoth, guys. Let's try to wake up Azathoth, guys.
Oh God, Lord.
The setting ends, and then we get to play a good game. I am joking. I know there's a lot of people who enjoy Call of Cthulhu, and it was actually fun. I had a lot of fun when I was playing it. When you accept it for what it is, it's fun to just go in there and be like, all right, let's do this. Let's play in a setting that was made by some weirdly racist dude who's a little bit more popularity than it deserves, but the stuff is still pretty rad. Cthulhu Tech is pretty great, and we just lost all of our Lovecraft listeners.
I mean, let's be honest. I'm kind of surprised we have listeners at all.
We love you guys. You're all pretty great.
You know when we jumped the shark? You know when I think that we went over the edge? I think it was during the introduction episode.
Yeah, but now it's just a steady descent all the way to the bottom. It only gets worse from here, guys. We climaxed immediately.
We drag our 2 remaining listeners down to hell itself.
The 3 of us are just going to push rope all the way to the end.
Now, in terms of, and I think that Ark has a bit of a commentary on this, but in terms of when you're making an NPC and you're like, okay, I'm going to design this character from the beginning so that the players can't kill it. The first thing you should do, and I'm saying this right now, unless you want the point to be that your players are going to spend the rest of the campaign trying to upset them, never make an invincible NPC that's painfully casual about everything.
Oh, this is the worst.
Because the thing is, players are the most petty, vindictive human beings to ever exist. If they find that there's someone in the setting that doesn't care, they will make them care. They will do anything in their power, even to the point of killing themselves, to upset the person. Because people that are just painfully uncaring about what's happening irritate players. So if the invincible NPC is just like, oh, okay, I don't care. Like, none of you matter. Nothing matter. I'm just gonna go do this because I don't care about it. The players they aren't going to take that as this NPC doesn't care, we should leave. They're going to interpret that as a personal challenge to them. It's like the second you do that, a Skyrim quest marker appears.
The second that you do that, the Skyrim quest marker appears, and the players get really fussy because it's a main character and they can't kill it.
Yeah, that's
happens.
Literally what happens.
If you've ever played Skyrim and you've just been like, I hate this guy. Why can't I just kill him? Why is he invincible, with all these quests attached to him? And, killing him would kind of end about half the game. Why can't I just kill him? Well...
You think a person that is immortal and is going to outlive all of us doesn't want your company.
Yeah, it's just kind of like... And Skyrim, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, is a perfect example of how not to do invincible characters. Of course, Skyrim does it in the meta sense that it just won't let you kill people, but in story they aren't invincible. But it is really irritating for every single NPC that has more than a single line of dialogue to be unkillable. It is painfully irritating when you do that. And this is the thing, a lot of DMs will get stuck in a rut like this, though. They'll make it so they're uncomfortable with killing, with players killing characters they like. And so they'll drum up meta-narrative reasons for the character to not die in situations where they should. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah. You didn't kill that Zabisi vampire. That was a flesh-crafted clone. It was a Doom bot.
Dear Lord.
You didn't kill the dragon. That dragon was just a simulacrum of the other dragon. Now the actual dragon is going to show up and the fight's going to start over again. But it's also going to be a simulacrum. Simulacrum is a stupid spell and should never have been put in the 5th edition.
Agreed.
I'm drawing this line in the sand. That spell should have died in 3rd edition.
What is simulacrum? I haven't really played normal D&D.
You make a version of yourself with half your hit points, but I think it has all of your spells, and so it can also cast simulacrum.
You have not seen my final form.
Yeah, it's stupid. If you ever look up the Bardic College build for 5th edition, it's a pretty funny build. It's funny, and what is it? There's these 2 guys who do a podcast that I can never remember, but someday I'll pitch their podcast to you guys. Total Party Thrill. There we go. Go to Total Party Thrill, but don't leave us. We'll miss you. But they brought it up in one of their episodes, and they're like, "Don't play this. This is not a fun build to have in your game, or for a DM to have in their game, because, oh boy, you make unlimited characters who just do everything, and you eat the action economy. You're just like, I'm going to take 20 turns, and everybody else takes 0 turns. You also basically become an invincible character.
So basically you flood the earth with a legion of yourself. That it's not like they're little weak clones that like are barely as strong as you are. They're like really powerful and close to your strength level, and you just flood.
This is the perfect world.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. The reason I'm
yourself.
the reason I'm dwelling on this is because this is kind of like a subcategory of invincible characters, which are characters that aren't really invincible, but they always have an out. They always have a reason to have not died, and it just sucks when you did it. You managed to beat the bad guy, and then oh no, you didn't. Like, come on, give me that victory.
Rod?
Oh yeah.
The guy that once you kill in the first game, there's like an infinite number of like future things where he comes back to life because apparently he is like a mimetic virus of some type.
Yeah, probably. Sounds about right. Ravenloft is weird.
Ravenloft is weird. As a side note, go play Ravenloft. It's a fun setting.
Yeah, I mean, go stomp around. Play it in Godbound. It's even better.
God, I've already told you guys this story, but play a Godbound of the Sun. It'll be amazing. It'll be the funniest thing you've ever did. Just like wander through the setting, purging it of everything you don't like. Like play a Godbound of Sun, Death, and let's see, what'll break this thing even more? Engineering. Bring in a drive up in your SUV that you built, just a literal SUV with like a little flashlight, and you click it and it just beams people with sunlight, and you just like slowly drive through the setting, burning away the evil. It's hilarious.
Not so invincible now, are you, Strad? You're pronouncing my name wrong on purpose, and it's kind of annoying.
No, and then you have to end it by killing all of the mysterious powers.
Yeah.
Or forcing them all to be sycophantic to you. It depends.
But so they're not all bad though. Like, not all invincible characters are bad. Like, we touched on Superman. The Sun is another good example. Gods, just things that players shouldn't be fighting, and it's clear that they shouldn't be fighting. And as somebody who's running a game, it takes a lot of effort to run a game. It's a big responsibility. A lot of the stress of the game really falls on your shoulders. And because of that, it can be very frustrating when your players are just murdering everything that you put in front of them. And it's okay to pause the game and just ask, hey, are you guys okay? Because you're killing everybody that I'm putting in front of you for no reason. Are you okay? Because if you need to talk about it, we can talk about it without you, like, killing all my stuff. You can be a little passive-aggressive. I'll give you permission, like, a little bit. But, like, there's this tendency for some players to fight anything with stats. And then anything that doesn't have stats, they might get frustrated. But, like, it's okay to tell them, you don't have to fight it. You're not supposed to fight this thing. This is a scene where you're supposed to run, maybe. Or it's the sun. Stop shooting arrows at the sun, guys. It gets angry.
There's also, and this is an example of how to do an invincible character right. In the game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which, by the way, super pumped that there's getting a sequel. Yeah. I am dying with excitement. But in the game, there's a section where you face a werewolf. You only face one in the game, but they present it as, like, this insurmountable wall. It's not something you're fighting. It is a force of nature you are running from. And they don't they don't stop you from attacking. I actually think that if you do everything right, you actually can kill it.
Yeah, there's a video on that.
Yeah, you can kill it, but most players don't try to. They don't try to kill it because they see this thing and it rips apart a wall and punches them across the room, and they just decide, I'm running. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm leaving.
It made the scene so memorable because, like you said, it was a force of nature rather than just enemy boss number 4.
Yeah, and then, but here's two things very important. One, there actually was a way to kill it. It's just, it was hard. And two, the goal wasn't to kill it. The goal wasn't some impossible task that you were doomed to fail, where the whole point of the campaign is that the only way to win is to not play. Don't do that. No. The goal was to survive for 5 minutes until the lift could come out so you could get the hell out of there. That was the goal. And since that was the clear goal, it didn't feel, I didn't feel cheated because I couldn't just insta-murder it. Mm-hmm. It felt like, okay, I can achieve success by surviving for 5 minutes. So there, it's in a framework, it makes sense, and then the werewolf doesn't hunt you down for the rest of the game. Once you escape it, it's gone, and the problem's over. If it keeps hunting you down everywhere you go, then you have to fight it. Like, if there's something dead set on murdering you, and there's nothing you can do to escape it, the only option is to fight.
Either fight or play a new game.
Yeah, and so don't expect players to not do that. Like, it's the same thing. Pyramid Head, perfect example of a really good unkillable enemy. It has ways to get past it. You can run away, outweight it, or you can shoot it enough to temporarily disable it. So you know how to handle it. When you meet it, it's not, oh, I'm dead. Okay, I give up. It's, okay, yeah, I need to run and get out of here. And if I have guns, maybe I can fire an entire several clips into it and get it to stop for a few seconds.
Causes the player to think about what they're going to do.
It becomes more of a puzzle than a, well, I guess we lose. Like, it's the same thing. Another example of how to do them wrong. And I'm giving a lot of examples of how to do them wrong, but they're done wrong more than they're done right. Every high-level military weapon from any World of Darkness game, they basically, they either give them stats that are completely ridiculous. Like, for example, the tank in, I think it was the tank from Mage the Ascension. You could drive the tank into fucking Malpheus and kill Liger with the tank. Like, it was some ridiculous power scale. Like, two tanks physically couldn't hurt each other because of the way the game was built. Because they were built to be something you can't fight. Like, the tanks were designed so that characters couldn't destroy them. But instead of just going, yeah, you have no chance against a tank at all. Just no chance. Don't bother rolling stats, you won't do it. Instead of doing... Are we recording now?
We are recording now.
Okay. So, with tanks, they were kind of designed so that players couldn't blow them up. Like, basically someone was asked, hey, can you make tank stats? And they just threw it together so that players would lose against it. But they accidentally made the tanks untouchable so that two tanks couldn't injure each other. And they got, like, some antediluvian stats as a test. And you can read about this in the Exalted versus World of Darkness book. They got two antediluvians, which are, like, super vampires that are before the flood, and they're just these demigod-like beings. And basically, like, the antediluvian could pick up the tank, but couldn't damage it at all. In fact, 4 antediluvians working together couldn't damage the tank at all. Now, this isn't intentional, but this does end up creating indestructible enemies. And especially if the DM doesn't know that something's indestructible, it can lead to some really weird moments. Because, like, we've been talking mostly about intentionally unbeatable enemies. You can also accidentally make unbeatable enemies, just without realizing it.
Absolutely. I'm trying to be careful with a system that I'm making right now because I have a resistance stat for your enemies, but I'm trying to fine tune it for individual things. So, like, that giant sea serpent out there, yeah, it's gonna have a higher resistance because in order to hurt it, you need to be strong enough and experienced enough in the particular things that would require, or that would allow you to exceed its resistance stat. But, like, just some dudes, yeah, they might have a resistance of, like, 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I actually think that's the first time we've referenced what we're working on.
Don't spoil it.
Uh,
Yeah.
Well, I guess most of the people that care already know what we're working
We
on.
talked about it as
Yeah.
I mean, another way you can do characters right is with One Punch Man, right?
Yeah.
Like
The
you
whole
have a character that's so strong that he can hit people with one punch. It's more of a comedy, but then you see other characters like his robot sidekick, and when you're dealing with Saitama, it's basically like you're not thinking, "Oh, is he gonna win? Is he gonna win?" No, how is he gonna kick this guy's ass, really? Or how the side character is gonna kick the other guy's ass? And I'd argue the robot guy, I forgot his name, he's probably the main character.
Yes.
I see.
He's designed to be the protagonist, while One Punch Man is this interesting, like, character the protagonist is working with. But if you noticed, One Punch Man never interrupts the fights until Genos has already lost. I think his name's Genos.
Yeah.
Okay, his name's Genos, yeah.
it is
If
now.
you notice, like, by the time One Punch Man comes in and does anything, Genos has already lost. He's already dead. He's done. He's lost the fight. And then One Punch Man arrives, because the whole point of the series is that to One Punch Man, nothing matters because he can't be hurt. But the show kind of shows that just because he can't be hurt doesn't mean that everyone around him can't be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you have him like kill like the first dude in the first episode, where it's like that massive guy with the brother, and like hundreds of thousands of people have died, and he just went back into his apartment.
Yeah,
Like he does not care anymore.
and so you can do invincible NPCs that are working around the players. You just have to be careful about it. You have to make sure that the spotlight stays on the players, because the players are sturdy. They can handle pretty much anything so long as the spotlight stays on them.
Yeah, like imagine if in One Punch Man, he went to be tested for his hero license, and in the show, it's not really much of a spoiler. He gets average grades. They're like, all right, you're like a C grade hero. Sure, here you go, because I think he didn't do well on the written portion. But imagine if he had gotten S ranked and everything, and everybody was just fawning over him, and everybody was falling over themselves, trying to get him on their side, and trying to get him to do this and that. And then you got Genos over there, like, okay, I guess I'll just go home. Bye. This was fun. Like, no, like, Genos, like, the joke there is that Genos is, I think Genos is an S rank. And
Yeah, he was top.
yeah,
He's like one of the stronger people in the setting, other than One Punch Man.
and then, but like, nobody's aware of One Punch Man, and nobody even knows who the heck he is. And like, One Punch Man wants to be hero, and he wants everybody to know that he's a hero, but there's just this running gag where for some reason or another, he just can't get famous.
Also, we have to talk about the Bike Man.
Oh God, the Bike Man.
Are we talking
Okay.
about the BMX Bandit?
Yeah, the BMX Bandit.
Oh wait, no. There's the other Bike Man. Yeah. I don't think it's the BMX Bandit.
In One Punch Man, there is a character who he's literally just a normal guy on a bike, and he is Bike Man, or like the biked rider, or the human rider, something like that. And there is this like this is right after an arc where One Punch Man is being One Punch Man, and it shows this arc of him facing something that is literally miles above him. Like if Genos is, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10, okay? This guy, he's like a 2. And Genos just got murdered by the villain. And he just throws himself at the villain. And he's losing as hard as you can. But instead of it making him look like he's a wimp, it makes him look like cooler and more of a hero than any other character in the show.
You can see determination in him. Like, Bike Man and One Punch Man are two polar opposites.
Yeah, literally. One is beloved by people and is super weak and is super passionate. One is super bored with his life is super powerful and no one knows who he is. and then they have this cool moment where they both realize what the other's doing and like appreciate each other, and it's really nice. But the thing is, for that little moment, he was the main character. The spotlight was on him. It didn't matter that One Punch Man could kill this guy in a single hit, because One Punch Man isn't here. One Punch Man hadn't made it yet. It doesn't matter if he could do it. He isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was the only thing standing between hundreds of dead people and that thing. And it was like this super cool moment. And you kind of, like, when you want to introduce characters that aren't necessarily hostile to the players but are invincible, that's a good idea of how to do it. Make it so that like One Punch Man, the super guy, either isn't here, can't be here, or won't come here. And that means that you're the one that has to be the hero. You're the main character. You're the one the story focuses on. You're the one who matters.
You're the man now, dog.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what we're going to do next week. We threw out a bunch of ideas. We will eventually be doing an actual play podcast. And that could either kind of replace what we're doing, or we might try to get together twice a week to do a podcast. It depends on what our schedules are looking like. But I'm very excited to unveil what we're doing, if you guys don't mind.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm totally happy with that.
Alright, so I'm tired of Exalted and the system, and the fact that like the writers aren't getting paid, and I hate the company that's publishing it. Again, don't buy their stuff. It's not very good anyways. But I've made my own system, and I think that we're just going to play that, because I decided that it was easier to just design an entirely new gaming system whole cloth than it was to try to put together the rules for a 3rd edition or go back to 2nd edition.
It was the funniest thing ever. We decided, okay, let's do a actual play podcast. Let's try it out. Let's play 3rd edition. We took a look at the rules. Good lord, these charms are boring. Okay, let's play 2nd edition. Actually, let's play 2.5, because 2nd edition is a bit
Unplayable?
special. I'll use the term special to describe 2nd edition. And so we're like, okay, let's just add a little bit of homebrew. A lot of homebrew. You know what? Let's throw out 2nd edition and just do all homebrew. Just like, let's take 2nd edition, put it into a box, kick it down the road. Let's do our own thing. And so then, yeah, Insuling started building a system while we watched and cheered from the sidelines, because we have no idea how to build a system. Insuling does. I'm pretty impressed with it myself, though I'm probably biased.
I mean, you've been making the lore. I've been cheering you guys on.
Yeah. I don't know, Insuling, how much we should be sharing right now, but Creation's a bit different. This version of Creation has a bit of a different story, different themes. We've removed stuff we didn't like, added stuff we did like, stolen from everyone we find interesting in relatively equal amounts,
Like,
shamelessly.
Fistfuls of stolen material. It's going to be great.
Like you're going like in this podcast, you're going to be listening. You're going to be like, "Good lord, they're not even hiding it. They just took it directly out of a thing they liked and plopped it in with no changes. They aren't changing names. They're barely changing descriptions. It's literally just this thing from that other thing." And yeah, we are. We're kind of going crazy with this one.
I think my favorite character so far is the admiral that was formerly known as Leviathan.
Oh god.
And I need to watch more Prince things. I need to listen to more Prince music, because I like Prince, but unfortunately I'm not familiar enough with him to really do him as a character yet. But there's a character named Admiral Leviathan that they wrote as this sad dude who had this sad story, and he's just a real sad whale. And I'm going to change that into a real rad dude who is just the artist formerly known as Prince, and he's a rad dude. Go meet him. Go into his awesome purple haze forest. I think Prince liked purple things. Again, I really need to do my research, but oh man, I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting experience for a lot of reasons.
Most of our answers on why did you do this is because we wanted to.
Yeah, there's like, I've been working on the lore a lot. I'm the one that's been doing a lot of the story stuff, and installing and Arc help a lot with that too. But we figured we love, and those of you that listen to the podcast, we love Exalted. We love the setting. We love the idea behind the mechanics. Not the execution, but the rough idea of what they're going for we like. And we really love Exalted. But there's a few issues with Exalted. And we'll get into those eventually. But I don't think now is the time or place for that. But just get excited. We're having a new guy on, so it'll be 3 players. Are we allowed to say what our characters are going to be, or should we keep it a secret?
We should keep that.
Let's hold that off for our session 0.
Yeah, we probably should, because it's good for the people that don't already know what we're doing, and a lot of the people, especially on the Discord, know what we're doing. But for the people that don't, it's probably going to be weird when we say our characters and where we're from. So, probably makes sense that we're keeping it on a bit of a backlog for now.
It's gonna be so good. I can't wait. I'm sorry, sweetie. We're starting Exalted tonight. Oh, nope. Wife is shaking her head. Okay. We're holding off for now.
Yeah, we are restraining ourselves as best. We just did another tangent, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to wrap up.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
But I think that brings us to a good stopping point.
Yeah, I'd say it does. We've said our piece on the issue. Now, we could do a separate episode about, for example, Elemenster. I could spend 4 hours talking just about how much I hate him. But we'll save that for another day. Do you guys want to do the wrap-up now?
Yeah. Who does which order?
Okay. I'll do the...
Arc, and Jared.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you've been listening to the Podcast Cast. I'm Insuling.
I'm Arc.
And I'm Jarrett, and I would like to thank you all for listening. Have a nice day.